Laman's heart pounded as he stared at the wreckage of the car that had once carried his wife and daughter. The twisted metal, the shattered glass, the distant wail of sirens, they were all part of a nightmare that had come to life. The world around him felt distant, muted, as though the universe itself had taken a breath and held it. His hands trembled as he reached for the hospital bed, feeling the searing pain in his chest, the weight of the grief that was about to break him. She's gone. His daughter was gone. His world, once so full of joy, was now a hollow echo of everything he had lost. But hey, before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss out on more intense stories like this. Stick with us to the end. I promise you won't want to miss what's coming. The room smelled of antiseptic and loneliness. Every breath Laman took felt like a fight. His body was bruised, battered, broken. The accident had left him mangled, but it was the loss of Tala, his little girl, that had destroyed him. The world didn't seem real anymore. How could it? How could everything fall apart in an instant? He closed his eyes, the image of the truck that had veered into their lane flashing before him. The tires screeched, the deafening crash that followed, the glass flying, the pain, the scream of the sirens in the distance as everything went black. And now, here he was, unable to move, unable to fix what had been torn apart. Shady's face swam into view beside him, pale and filled with worry. His twin brother had been there through it all, through their childhood, through the death of their parents, through the moments that had made them both who they were. But this was something different. No one could have prepared them for this. "Do," Shady whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You're alive." Laman's throat felt like it was closing. He opened his eyes, and through the haze of pain, he could barely make out the outlines of Shady's face. His twin, his constant, there, but distant. "Where is Amina?" Laman's voice was a hoarse whisper. He could barely speak, but he had to know. He needed to know if she was okay. Shady reached out and gripped Laman's shoulder, his hand trembling slightly. She's alive, Do. She's in a coma. The doctors are doing everything they can." Laman's chest tightened. Amina, his beautiful wife. They had built a life together, a family, and now she was fighting for her life. He could feel the tears welling in his eyes, but he held them back, trying to focus on what was left. The only thing left now was the pain. Ka's gone, isn't she?" Laman asked, his voice breaking at the name of his daughter. Shady didn't respond immediately. The silence between them was suffocating, but finally he spoke, his voice barely audible. "Yes, Do. Ka's gone. She didn't survive the crash." The world seemed to tilt. The air left Laman his lungs, and he felt like he was falling into a black hole. Gone. His precious daughter, his joy, the one person who had filled their home with light. Shady didn't say anything more, but his presence, his hand on Laman's shoulder, spoke volumes. They both knew that no words could undo what had happened. Laman closed his eyes again, allowing the tears to fall. He didn't care anymore. What was the point of holding it all in? The ache in his chest was unbearable. The image of Tala's smiling face, her giggle, her little hands reaching for him, all of it felt like a cruel joke. How was he supposed to live with this? Just then, the door to the room opened, and a doctor entered. His face was grim, and Laman's heart skipped a beat. "Mr. Laman," the doctor began cautiously, "the accident caused significant damage to your internal organs. I'm afraid you won't be able to have children again." The words hit him like a physical blow. His body went cold. No more children. The dream he had held onto for years, building a family with Amina, was gone. Gone along with his daughter. The tears that had been held back for so long burst free, and he sobbed, his body shaking with grief. Shady's hand tightened on his shoulder, but Laman couldn't focus on him anymore. Everything was lost. His daughter, his future, his sense of purpose. His body felt as though it was betraying him. He had no strength left to fight this. When Amina finally woke up, a day later, the world seemed to shift in slow motion. Her eyes were wide with panic as she looked around the sterile hospital room. She was disoriented, confused, as if waking from a nightmare that was far worse than any dream. "Amina," Lamin whispered, forcing his voice through the pain. "I'm here." Her eyes locked onto him, and for a brief moment, there was a flicker of recognition before it was overtaken by fear. "Lamin, where is Ka?" Her voice trembled, weak but full of desperate hope. Lamin's heart broke all over again. He didn't want to tell her. He didn't want to break her heart again, but he couldn't lie to her, not now. "Amina," he began, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Ka didn't make it. She's gone." Her body went rigid, her face contorting with grief. The sob that tore from her throat echoed in the room, sharp and guttural, as though the world itself had shattered for her too. She reached out for him, clutching him tightly as though she could somehow hold on to the life they had once had. "No, no, not our baby," Amina cried. "Not Ka. Why? Why would this happen to us?" Lamin held her close, his tears falling freely as he whispered, "I don't know, Amina. I don't know." But the pain was not over. It was just beginning. A few days passed, and the hospital was a blur of doctors, nurses, and quiet, shared moments of agony between Lamin and Amina. They had lost everything, everything that had once been good, pure, and full of hope. Lamin and Amina spent weeks in the hospital, their lives a haze of grief and recovery. Amina, though physically healing, seemed lost in her own mind, her eyes distant as she wrestled with the loss of their daughter. Lamin, too, was a shell of the man he used to be. He moved through the days like a ghost, his body healing from the crash, but his heart remained shattered. The days blurred together. The house, once filled with the laughter of a little girl, now felt too quiet. The walls seemed to echo with memories of Tala. Her toys were scattered in the living room, the small shoes she had outgrown left by the door, reminders of the life they once had. Amina couldn't bear to touch them, couldn't bear to be in the spaces where Tala had played. One evening, after another silent dinner, Amina sat on the edge of their bed, staring at the empty cradle that had once held Tala. The weight of it all pressed down on her chest, suffocating her. She wanted to cry, wanted to scream, but the tears wouldn't come anymore. It felt as though they had been drained from her, leaving nothing but a hollow emptiness behind. Lamin, unable to sleep, watched her from the doorway. His heart ached at the sight of his wife, his strong, beautiful wife, reduced to this shell of herself. He wanted to hold her, to comfort her, but he didn't know how. He felt so powerless, so broken. "Amina," he whispered, his voice thick with sorrow. "I can't fix this. I can't bring her back." Amina turned toward him, her eyes red and swollen from the days of silent crying. She shook her head. "I don't even know who I am anymore, Lamin. I've lost everything." "You haven't lost me," he said, his voice a soft plea. But Amina only nodded, her gaze dropping to the empty cradle again. "It feels like I've lost myself," she whispered. I need to feel like I'm whole again. I need something to fill the space she left behind." Lamin stood still, unsure how to comfort her. The truth was, he felt the same. He longed for his daughter's laughter, for the way she used to wrap her tiny hands around his finger. But now everything felt like a void. Days turned into weeks, and Lamin found himself sinking deeper into despair. He tried to help Amina, but the more he tried, the more distant she became. He couldn't help but wonder if their marriage would survive this. How could it? The grief was too great, too overwhelming. One evening, after Amina had fallen asleep, Lamin sat at the kitchen table, staring at the family photos they had once proudly displayed. His eyes lingered on the picture of Tala's first birthday, her tiny hands clapping in delight as Amina beamed at her. It felt like a lifetime ago. How could so much joy disappear in an instant? He wiped his face with his hands, feeling the weight of his own sorrow. And then, as if a light bulb had gone off in his mind, he knew what he had to do. He couldn't bear to see Amina slipping away from him. He couldn't let her drown in this grief. But what if he couldn't give her what she needed? That night, unable to sleep, Lamin turned to his brother, Jabari. They had always shared everything, and Lamin felt that if anyone could help him, it would be Jabari. Jabari, Lamin whispered when he called his brother. I can't do this alone. Jabari's voice was steady, though Lamin could hear the concern in it. You don't have to, do. You know I'm here for you. Lamin took a deep breath before saying what had been weighing on him for days. Amina, she wants another child. She's been talking about it, but I can't give her that. Not after the accident. There was a long pause on the other end of the line before Jabari spoke, his voice tinged with a quiet sadness. I know, Do, and I've been thinking, what if I could give her that? What if I marry her? I could give her the children she needs, and we can raise them together, as one family. Lamin's breath caught in his throat. His first instinct was to reject the idea. What? You want to marry Amina? My wife? I can help, Jabari said, his voice firm but filled with an undeniable compassion. I know you're hurting, and I know Amina needs more. I can be there for her. And you, I'm offering this, Do, because I want to help. I love you both. Lamin sat in silence, the weight of Jabari's offer settling over him. He couldn't comprehend the magnitude of what his brother was suggesting, yet it felt right. It felt like the only way to heal the wound in their family. The next morning, Lamin could hardly look at his brother. How could he? The weight of Jabari's proposal hung heavy between them. Yet, in the depths of his despair, Lamin knew this was the only way forward. He couldn't fix what had happened. He couldn't bring Tala back. But Jabari could give Amina what she needed. When he finally brought the idea to Amina, her eyes widened with disbelief. What are you saying, Lamin? She asked, her voice trembling with shock. I can't give you another child, Amina, he whispered, the words breaking him further. But Jabari, he can. He's willing to marry you, so we can raise a family together, for our future. Tears welled up in Amina's eyes as she processed what Lamin had said. Her heart ached, but the idea felt right. She couldn't stay stuck in this sorrow. But, Jabari? She asked softly. How can we? I don't know, Lamin said, his voice cracking with emotion. But I want to give you a chance, Amina. I want to rebuild our family. Amina didn't speak for a long while. When she did, her voice was heavy with sadness and a strange sense of acceptance. I don't know what this will mean, Lamin, but I can't lose you too. And so, they agreed. Jabari married Amina in a small, quiet ceremony. It wasn't the life they had imagined, but it was the life they had. The villagers whispered, of course, calling Amina the woman with two husbands, but Amina didn't care. She held her head high, knowing she had made a decision born out of love and necessity. Months later, Amina gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The house, once hollow with grief, was now filled with the sounds of laughter again. The twins were a reminder of the new family they had created together. As the years passed, Amina and Jabari raised their children, while Lamin stood by, supporting them both. There was peace in their home, but a strange, lingering sense of tension. The villagers continued to gossip, but Amina and Lamin knew their family was strong. They had faced the unimaginable together and come out the other side, stronger than ever. Their love, though unconventional, was theirs, and in that love, they had built a family that no one could tear apart.